In this episode, I'm with Timothy Sykes, the GOAT of trading penny stocks. A self-made multimillionaire who teaches people how to trade stocks. He's ranked #1 trader of 60,000 in Covestor, and Tim started in high school by turning his bar mitzvah money of $12,000 into over $2 million. He comes from a middle-class neighborhood and rose to the top of the industry and now has over 5,000 students in over 100 countries that he helps do the same. Tim's been featured in CNN, Fox, ABC, CNBC. He's written for The Street and MSN Money. He specializes in penny stocks, and we're gonna break that all down today. Tim, welcome to the GOAT Show.
Thanks for having me, man. Penny stock, you invest 1,000. I mean, my top student has gone from 1,500 to 6 million in 6 years.
Everyone wants to be great, but only few actually get there. And I'm on a mission to find out what all the greatest have in common. I've traveled tirelessly to find, sit down, and talk with GOATs. People that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. Sales, marketing, advertising, business, podcasts, branding, you name it. The way they do things may be different, but they all seem to see the world the same way. To them, success is not only achievable, but inevitable. And we'll get inside their heads as they share their expertise with me each week. My name's Mike Arce, and this is The GOAT Show. Thousands of people all over the world are earning a healthy income trading stocks. And if you know what you're doing, it can create an incredible lifestyle for you that's both lucrative and enjoyable. Tim Sykes has helped thousands of people all over the world master the art with his program, which you can learn about at tradeliketimsykes.com. There's chat room access, a daily stock watch list, real-time trade alerts, and over 4,000 video lessons to help you master the art of trading penny stocks. Again, go to tradeliketimsykes.com to learn more. And I also have to share my experience with ClickFunnels. If you've been living under a rock and haven't heard of them, they're hands down the #1 platform for building landing pages and marketing funnels. I've been using them since 2015, and it's so crazy how easily my team and I create landing pages using their proven templates and easy drag and drop system. Without any design or coding experience whatsoever, we've been able to create hundreds of landing pages within minutes that look great and close sales better than anything we've used in the past. They're great for webinar funnels, sales funnels, demos, squeeze pages, you name it. I can't even imagine my business doing as well without them. And actually right now, they're offering a free 14-day trial if you go to clickfunnelspromo.com. So I definitely recommend you guys take advantage of that 14-day trial. It's free for 14 days, and you can get it at clickfunnelspromo.com. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT Show, where I interview people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. My name's Mike Arce, and today I'm here with Tim Sykes, a self-made multimillionaire who teaches people how to trade stocks. He's ranked #1 trader of 60,000 in Covestor, and Tim started in high school by turning his bar mitzvah money of $12,000 into over $2 million. He comes from a middle-class neighborhood and rose to the top of the industry and now has over 5,000 students in over 100 countries that he helps do the same. Tim's been featured in CNN, Fox, ABC, CNBC. He's written for The Street and MSN Money. He specializes in penny stocks, and we're gonna break that all down today. Tim, welcome to the GOAT Show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what you've been able to do. Well, first off, let's actually come back. What is a penny stock?
Sure. So these are stocks under $5 a share, very speculative. A lot of developmental companies, a lot of scams. Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
Of course.
Those are all penny stocks. So
a
lot of people hate on them. I've always found success with them. Just exposing the scams. You can actually make money when they go down, and sometimes there are some quality companies too.
Now, when you say they're speculative, what do you mean by speculative?
So they have like 1 or 2 products. They say they found like a massive oil field in Peru, or they have this new technology that's going to cure everything. They make these pie-in-the-sky projections, and they almost always fail. So it's kind of cool, like you kind of know the end game, but you can ride the momentum while they're still hyping themselves up. They all lie. They all like pump themselves up. They say they're the best company in the world, and yet their stocks trade at like $1 a share. So
Right.
a lot of idiots believe them. So a lot of suckers actually think they're going to be the next Microsoft. So it's kind of different than the actual rest of the stock market.
And it's because they want to be the one that like they saw it. They had some sort of like vision that this company was going to be something.
Yeah,
They want to be the one that jumps
It's like
on
the
it.
long shots. Like if you like, you know, bet at a racetrack, like a 50-to-1 long shot. Like these
Right.
are all the long shots. That's why they're
Yeah.
priced so low. And so a lot of people love it. You know, if you don't have a lot of money, like you have $1,000, if you
Right.
put $1,000 into Google, okay, it might be like 1,200 after a year. Maybe like you may make 20% on your money. But a penny stock, if you invest 1,000, I mean, my top student has
Yeah.
gone from 1,500 to 6 million in 6 years. Not because he picked any one big winner, but he's using the volatility. He's using how fast they can go up.
So I think after The Wolf of Wall Street came out, a lot of people now started knowing who Jordan Belfort was. He was portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie. Jordan Belfort, he's a penny stock guy. That was his deal. And so if you watch the movie, you look at this and you go, that doesn't look like a business I want to be in. So I guess the question I have for you is, how do you differ from Jordan Belfort in like what he did and what you're doing?
Yeah, so he's a career criminal. You know, if you want to be a career criminal, learn from Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
I think he's tops. For me, I don't want to be a criminal. I've just always made money riding them up and riding them down and being realistic. He was actually a pump and dumper. This is a term that, you know, he kind of invented.
Well, what's a pump and dumper?
So he pumps up the stock price in order to dump it.
How does
So
he do that?
He has a whole team of basically brokers, but really telemarketers, and they pitch the story of this stock saying, hey, we got a great deal. It's trading at 37 cents a share. It's going to hit $5 next week. And they call up random people, and some people believe it, and they basically sucker them. So they pump up the stock price, and the broker themselves or their company or whoever hired them is selling. So they're basically lying to people on the phone or in emails. That's illegal.
And they do that and they manipulate the market
Correct.
because of that and they're able
They
to
inflate
profit
the
off.
stock price to get it up as high as possible. They sell all their shares, and the stocks fall out of bed when
And
no
everyone
one is-
loses money but them.
Correct.
Got
And
it.
the stocks fall 50, 60, 90% in a day with no news, with no warning. So people hate penny stocks. They're like, this makes no sense. It actually makes sense if you understand how the game works. So
So for the people that their only education of penny stocks comes from watching The Wolf of Wall Street
Or getting
and now
screwed.
they're getting screwed and now they're watching you.
Yeah.
So tell us how do you make trading penny stocks into not only a legitimate business but also into a lucrative business you could be proud of being a part of?
yeah, so I talk about the pumping and dumping. I expose how the pattern works. I mean, it's not random when a stock drops 50%.
Right.
You can actually see the emails stop. Like there are email promotions these days, not so much telemarketing. So you can track how many emails are getting sent out, and then for 3 or 4 days when there's no emails getting sent out, the promotion is over. That means the insiders have already sold out, or whoever paid for the promotion is out of funds. So it's like a jet without fuel. It just falls
Right.
out of the sky. So I track all this and I expose it. I have 8,000 blog posts on my website, TimothySykes.com.
8,000 over what period of time?
This is over 10 years now I've been teaching.
Now you write all of them or do you have other
No, I
people?
write them all.
You write them all?
Yeah, I'm kind of
Wow.
obsessed.
Do you ever guest blog on other people's sites as well?
Not really. It's
Wow.
all my stuff. I want to be in control of it. So, you know, it's a very kind of sketchy world, but it's very predictable if you understand the rules of the game.
Right.
Most people on Wall Street, they understand profits and revenues and like they want to invest in good companies like Amazon or Facebook, but you just can't grow a small account very quickly that way.
Right.
With this way, I mean, sometimes I actually ride these scams up. I say, why I invested $50,000 in this scam. And people are like, what's going on? You admit that
Right.
it's a scam? And I was like, yes, because someone is pumping it, they're going to last for several days,
So
several
you
weeks.
could benefit from someone else
You can
wanting
ride
to
the
pump it
coattails. You have
and
to
then
understand
leave first.
Well, you have to understand the risk. So that was a very popular strategy a few years ago. A lot of the promoters have been shut down lately. So now I short sell mainly. So you can bet against these stocks. So
tell me about short selling stocks.
So short selling is complicated. A lot of people don't like it. You can make money when stocks go down. You basically take a negative position. So normally you want to buy low, sell high, right? You want to buy 1,000 shares of a stock at $2. Ideally, you want to sell it at $10, right? Like, oh, I found this stock. It went up. Short selling, you find a stock, a penny stock that's already been pumped. Where they don't have many assets, they don't have many products, but there have been millions and millions of emails sent out to suckers all over the world, and the stock price is now inflated. It's waiting to come down. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So then I'm looking for shares to short. Unfortunately, you can't always find shares to short. You have to actually take out a loan from your broker. It's kind of technical. This is what I teach.
Right.
But it's kind of cool when the company, stops sending out emails, the promoters stop, the stock is just kind of hanging there, kind of like a jet without fuel, and it's hanging in the air for a little bit, and then in a few days it just drops. So you can ride it down, you profit, you basically still buy low, sell high, but it's in reverse order. You're
Right.
selling high with the goal of buying low later.
So you're betting on the stock dropping.
Yes.
So it's like playing craps and betting on craps, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the guy that no one likes at the table, but they can make some money
and
if
again,
they do it right.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that don't like it, but it's just history and stats. Like
Right.
I don't, I've met some of these promoters who are like, you exposed my penny stock. I was like, well, you did the pumping. Like
Right.
you brought it on yourself. Whether I expose it or not, whether I short it or not, sometimes there's no shares to short. I have a whole music video called No Borrow, No Cry, and I spoof
Right.
No Woman, No Cry, because a lot of the times it's a complete scam. I want to short the shit out of it, and there's no shares available to short.
Wow.
So
now earlier in the G.O.A.T show, we interviewed Ryan Dice, and he talks a lot about in his interview how to give value first and then ask for the sale later. And obviously you have courses and you have students that you bring into your program, but you have like you said, 8,000 blogs that you've written.
And 5,000 video lessons.
And that's what I was about to say. In YouTube, like you just have, what is a stock? What is a penny stock? What is cryptocurrency? And how does this work? And all that stuff.
YouTube has 1,000 video lessons. In my premium video library, I have
Free.
5,400. Yeah. So it's kind of a stretch for people to believe me because they're like, you turn a few thousand into a few million. You have a few millionaire students. You're trading penny stocks. Like you're the fucking Wolf of Wall Street. But I back everything up. I show every single trade.
Right.
I show my mistakes. I don't win 100% of the time. I win roughly 70% of the time. I have a student here who's actually in Arizona. He just gave birth to a baby today. I'm going to go visit him right after this. He's turned 4,000 into over 500,000 in a year. He shows every trade. So it's just about being transparent and using the internet to allow that. This wasn't possible. The Wolf of Wall Street was pre-internet.
Right.
So a lot of people would get called. They couldn't do research. Now you get called about a stock. Don't hang up on the telemarketer. I encourage people to listen to them, write down the ticker, and then do research. I mean, you can just type in the company's address and you can see it on Google Street View. I mean, I've exposed stocks based out of honey baked ham stores. They make up addresses. There was a company with a doctor, and I looked up his medical records. It's all online. He actually lost his medical license, right? And he's still claiming to be a doctor. So you can really do the research on your own. I learned everything on the internet.
One thing that I like that you said too is that you win 70% of the time.
Yeah.
The reason I like that is because I think sometimes people categorize things and like how things should be based on like the category they put them in their own mind.
Yeah.
We used example before in some other videos where we talk about like gas versus water, right? Like people get freaked out when they have to pay $6 for a gallon of gas, but they pay $3 or $4 for a 20-ounce bottle of water, which is like $15 to $18 per gallon,
no,
right?
don't think about it.
But they don't think about it because they put it in separate categories, right? And I think with a lot of things, you go to a restaurant, you say, okay, if I order a meal, like 100% of the time I should get that meal.
Yeah.
But with certain things like marketing, right? If 70% of my marketing worked, I'm pretty happy, right? And if I went to a casino and won 70% of my hands, I'm pretty happy. Yeah. And I think what some people, they have that problem with failing, especially failing at a high rate to them of 30%.
Yeah.
But 70% success rate is pretty solid.
And, I could win 40% of the time and still be profitable. It's about how you manage your gains and losses. This isn't Vegas where you double your money or you go to zero. Like I have a lot of losses where I lose 1 or 2 or 3%. I cut my losses quickly. That's rule number 1. Cut losses quickly. I don't let a small mistake turn into a potential big disaster. So I might be betting against a scam, but it keeps going. Like some scams are stronger and they last longer than you think.
Right.
So I'm not going to be perfect, and I have to understand that. Early in my career, I had a lot of big losses. I was like, I have to be right. I've done the research.
Right.
Now I'm just like, I let it go so easily because it doesn't matter how much research you do, you can still be wrong about any stock.
It's the game that you play.
With any one play, you can get wiped out. If you use leverage, if you borrow to actually bet so much, you're like, I'm so sure of this stock, and you get emotionally involved, or if you don't cut losses quickly, if you go in with no plan, or if you just believe like these promoters, there's a lot of ways to go bust. There's a lot of ways to go bankrupt. 90% of traders lose money. So people don't like the stats because they're ugly, but you have to learn the stats and then you have to respect the stats so you don't end up becoming one.
So I want to talk about your greatest victory, as well as your students' greatest victory.
Sure.
But I first want to talk about your greatest loss.
Cool.
So what's been your biggest loss, the one that you were like, I'm going to throw up?
So it's funny.
Right now.
My biggest victory and my biggest loss came back to back. First, I had my biggest loss. 2004 Asian tsunami. I was betting big. I wasn't teaching back then. I've only been teaching since 2007. I was really betting big. The stock went from 1 to 6. Taylor
and what was
Devices.
the stock?
Taylor Devices, TAYD was the ticker. I think they're still in business. They make earthquake absorption equipment. Near bankrupt company. So the cool thing with these penny stocks is that they put out press releases all hyped up. We're amazing, we're amazing. But there's also SEC filings, which are like 70 pages as opposed to the press releases with 1 page. So I dig through the SEC filings, which are legally required, and they say, actually, we have no money. We're probably going to go bankrupt within 3 months. Like, their lawyers make them say this. And the press release says, we're amazing. So there's an inefficiency there. So Taylor Devices, Asian tsunami happened. It was a tragedy, right? And a lot of people thought that all of these Asian cities were going to need earthquake absorption equipment for these buildings. This company, even if they got the contracts, wouldn't be able to fulfill it. They had no cash. So
they didn't have the ability to produce.
Correct. It was a joke, but the stock went from 1 to 6 on rumors. And I was like, this is bullshit. This is going to come down. So I short sold it. It kept going higher. It got to 8. I lost roughly $200,000 in a day. It was $180,000. It sucked. Right around Christmas time. It was really bad, like, for my whole ego. And I was like, God, I underestimated the hype. It just kept going. But then it started topping out the next day at around $9 a share. And I was like, so now it's gone from 1 to 9 in basically 3 days, all on hype. They have no money. This stock should be bankrupt or near bankrupt. So I reshorted it and I made back.
So you doubled down on your
first
initial.
I cut my losses. So first I lost $180,000. I took it and I basically saved myself another $100,000 because it went up to $9.
Got it. Okay.
But then I was like, you know what? This thing has to go down. And it actually, I think it went to 12. But when it started peaking, it's kind of like a mountaintop. And once it started coming down, I was like, all right, now is the time. I was a little too early. So I made back the $180,000 plus another $40,000. I made $40,000 overall. It sucked.
Wow.
It's the worst way to make $40,000. And then it did go back down to $2 a share. So I could have made $600,000.
But it was your greatest victory because it wasn't like the loss you were able to recoup quickly.
For me, victory is not just based on money. It's based on lessons. So it was my best lesson where I don't want to make $40,000 by having a potential heart attack. So that made me much more conservative after that. I've had $500,000 losses, not in one day, but they make me more conservative in the long run. And I think that's the way to be. So I've made a lot of money in the markets. I've now made nearly $5 million from starting with just 12 grand, but my losses have gone down dramatically and my stress levels have gone down dramatically.
Right.
My winning percentage is still up there. And, frankly, I think that's the way to be.
Do you ever have days where you don't get on your laptop and trade?
100%. Today, I haven't traded. Yesterday, I didn't trade. The market has kind of been seesawing back and forth. I just made an analogy because I just flew in here from Hawaii. And so I was looking at these waves and the waves are crashing into the rocks. And I'm like, God, this is scary. I don't want to go swimming. Very similar with the stock market. You don't have to get in when the waves are so scary and crashing. A lot of people think, oh, you need to trade every day. You need to have your money working for you and invested at all times. No, I like staying in cash and sitting and waiting for the best plays. Patience is actually the best lesson for the stock market. And it's tough because I have all this cash, I want to go, but I don't see anything great.
Let's talk about your best students. You've had now 5,000 students.
Yeah.
Do you know your best student? I mean, can you drop his name and what he's done?
Tim Grittani. So this is a beautiful thing about being fully transparent and real. Tim Grittani started with $1,500 of his own money. He was working at State Farm Insurance. He lost his first $1,500. He said, wait a minute, let me actually start looking for help. He saw one of my websites. We started talking. He started looking and studying. He became a really good studier. I have a lot of videos and there's no
There's people that just go through all your stuff.
Correct. So that's the common element. They studied their asses off. And he started studying. He was asking me good questions. Now he's turned $1,500 into $6 million. He just had his best 2-month period. He made $1 million in the past 2 months.
Wow.
We don't trade the exact same way, but if I can pass some lessons down to him about cutting losses and show him some of the patterns that I've learned over the past 20 years now. I've been trading for 20 years. So.
Right. That's one thing I've learned too with, you get through some coaches and you take a lot away from him. He probably took a lot away from you, but he's also probably started learning from some other people and you probably get value out of him now too, right?
He's a better trader than I am. I love it when my students become better. I make the comparison, Arce Manning, father to Eli and Peyton, never won a Super Bowl on his own. But Eli and Peyton, both his sons, won multiple Super Bowls. Right. So they learned from him and they became better than him. And that's what I love. I'm not the best trader. I've only made $5 million over the years. I trade with a small account now in order to teach. But there are traders out there who make $5 million in a day.
Right.
But I share everything, and that helps my students.
As far as a teacher of it.
Correct.
That's where it's
I think I'm a better teacher than trader.
Right.
And that's my value. You have to learn. If you had asked me 5, maybe 10 years ago, when I first got into teaching, would you give up trading and just teach? And I was like, no, I still trade, but I trade with a small account. I go back to 12,000 every year to see how I can grow it. So, we're filming this in, what is this, February, mid-February?
Yeah.
I don't even know the date anymore. So for January, I started my E-Trade account with 12,000. It's now up to 16,000. So small money, who makes, a multi-millionaire bragging about making 4,000, but being able to make 30% on your money in a month, showing the gains, showing the losses, showing how I control the losses. That's huge value. And I make all these video lessons on every single trade, whether I make $100 or lose $100. There's so many lessons. And like you were talking about Bitcoin before, I mean, Bitcoin stocks are what I trade. I don't trade Bitcoin itself, but Bitcoin and cryptocurrency stocks are spiking. They're on fire, and they're following the same patterns that other manias have followed in the past, like marijuana, Ebola. Everyone was afraid of Ebola a few years ago. I mean, Aaron Hernandez killed more people than Ebola. Like it was nothing.
Well, what's your thought on cryptocurrencies right now?
It follows the same patterns as other manias. So a lot of people say, oh, cryptocurrency is the future. It's different. I don't know. I don't try to make guesses on what is the future or what's a total scam. I think you can make a case for both sides. I just follow the patterns, so I trade them. And they're following perfect patterns for me right now where it's a mania and it's probably going to drop. It already has dropped quite big. Hopefully it comes back a little. I just need volatility. I don't want it to go up and down as much as possible.
Right. So when you're, let's say, putting out videos, because you have so many out there, and you have some that are pretty funny.
Yeah.
I just watched one with you in Mexico, which that's another thing too. You have a shirt on called "Travel is my sport."
It is. I'm an athlete.
You literally, you were just in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You were in South Africa.
Going to South Africa.
Or you're going to South Africa next.
And then Japan for the cherry blossoms.
And Japan for the cherry blossoms.
Yeah.
So you're doing all the. Oh, okay. So yeah, Sam was just over in
Look at
Japan
this.
and Hawaii.
Look at that.
Is that so? You have it on your phone?
That piece of sushi.
Let's get in on that.
Oh, get in that. Best piece of tuna I ever had.
So is that kind of like your
Tokyo.
one-pick vision board for where you're about to go?
This is it. I love sushi. I just had some great sushi in Hawaii too, though.
Yeah, I bet. So you travel because what you do for a living allows you to do that.
And I love it. And I'm also growing my charity. So in the past few years.
What's your charity?
It's the Timothy Sykes Foundation. So a lot of people say, hey, Tim, I want to learn from you. So I'm like, okay, here are my free videos. But free videos, people don't really watch. They don't respect because they're free. So I'm like, okay, I have these premium videos. And they're like, I want to learn, but I don't want to pay you because I hate you. Because I'm, an asshole sometimes in my videos. I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, let me try to think of something else. So can't do a free video, can't do a premium video. Let me start a video specifically for charity. So I created this video. It was supposed to be 6 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. It kept going because I wanted to include everything. So if you go to howtomakemillions.com, it's all for charity. I don't get a dime of it. So people who hate me,
where does it go? Like what charity does it go to?
So Timothy Sykes Foundation is my charity. This has now raised $3.5 million, and we donated to a whole bunch of different charities, over 62 different charities now. Mainly Pencils of Promise. We donated $1 million to build schools all over the world.
We've had Lewis Howes as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So Lewis introduced me to Pencils of Promise, and then I donated $1 million last year. Now we just had an annual gala, and I spent like $400,000. I was a little drunk, so I was like bidding on stuff. I have to go do, I don't have to, but I want to go do pottery with Gigi Hadid. I paid $175,000 for that.
To go do pottery with him?
Yeah, so we're going to, I got to work out a little bit. I'm going to try to redo that scene from Ghost, with like the pottery. I don't know. That's my vision at all.
Can you make a video of that? Add that to YouTube. I'll even just send me the raw footage. We'll do the editing for you.
I have to get a spray tan. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't think she'll be into it, but it's all for a good cause, and I love building schools. So now I have 36 schools all over the world. I did this one tweet, like my charity posts don't really do well on social media, and that pisses me off. Like people like my Lamborghini, and I post big stacks of cash, but my charity stuff gets the least likes. So I was like, screw this. I had my first school open in Bali, and I said, retweet this. For every retweet, I'm gonna build another school. And usually my charity stuff gets like 2 or 3 retweets, like 5 maybe, whatever. This one tweet got 2,300 retweets.
You have to build 2,300 schools?
I'm gonna do it. Twitter is making me a better person. So,
how do you build 2,300 schools?
Not easily. So each school is roughly $50,000. So the 36 schools take a little while to be built too. And I'm not just building them for the sake of building them. Like they have to be operated. Pencils of Promise does a whole lot of research. So it's gonna take me a little while, but I think I can donate that much and I think I can build that many schools.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It's fun. I like education and then I like travel. So I go to all these schools. So I was in Hawaii, not just randomly, because I also donate there. So we worked with this charity called Wild Hawaii. We cleaned up some beaches. We learned about the environment and how bad straws are and stuff like that. So I go to all these places, but it gets kind of old after a while. I mean, I told you I've been to 113 countries now. That's cool, but you start losing like the hype. Like now, once I start working with local charities in each place and give back to the community, it's a whole new experience. Wow. So I encourage anybody who likes to travel, work with local charities no matter where you are.
Yeah. So I wanted to. This is going to be some more selfish information
Tell me.
here. It's
Welcome
almost,
to my life.
It's selfishly selfless, I guess,
Okay.
because it's actually for my dad, not for me.
Okay.
My dad has, he's kind of semi-retired. He's been a business owner for his whole life, like since he's never had a job. He's always been a business owner. And now he's kind of like, he hangs out, he's got his computer, he watches Bloomberg, and he basically just has like 2 laptops open. He's got like a little Pentagon office. He's an addict.
Cool.
And he basically just trades. And he's actually doing pretty well. He made some good investments. But I know that he's a student of it too.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows who you are. He will now.
Yeah.
Because he watches my stuff. He's a good fan.
Cool.
But let's say for him, right? Like he's just getting into the game. He's probably a small to mid-size investor as far as accounts go. What are some things that he should pay attention to? So this is the average guy.
Yeah.
What are some things he should pay attention to really make sure that he's playing semi-aggressively, right? So he can win big in some cases, but also he doesn't have such a high risk because right now I don't know if he's ready for all that.
So rule number 1, cut losses quickly. Any one trade can wipe you out. If you start getting cocky, if you fall in love with a stock, he's an addict, right? That's very dangerous. I don't want to be a slave to the market. So even if you make money, you have no life. You're spending all time in your octagon, like you're like, yeah, I made $1,000, I made 500, I made 5,000, and then you have no fucking life left. So be very careful about using the market to make your life better, rather than your whole life becomes the market. Because it's not just about the money. That's why I like traveling. I like showing. I just work with 1 laptop. I work on the shittiest Wi-Fi in some of these third world countries. I just built a soccer stadium in Cambodia. I'm trying to trade with literally shit.
You
dial-up.
just built a soccer stadium in Cambodia?
Yeah.
Let's just throw that out there. That got in the way of building 2,300 schools.
No, it's pretty cool.
So how do you build a soccer field in Cambodia? Where does that start?
So I built a school in Cambodia. It took them like 9 months. And I'm talking with the town's governor and everything, and he's like, schools is great, but all the kids really need like a playground or something. They love playing soccer. So I was like, oh, let's build a playground for them for the soccer. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, why not build something? Let's go bigger. So, we started talking, and I was like, let's build a fucking stadium. So we built it, Cambodian Village Fund, great charity, in Battambang, Cambodia. They built this soccer stadium in it was like 4.5 months. The school took 9 months. Soccer stadium, they were all excited about it. It's united like 4 different towns. And so I went to the grand opening just a few months ago. We still have to post a video. It's amazing. We had like 5,000 people come, and everyone's playing soccer.
How does this work? So obviously you built this.
$63,000.
$63,000.
Money goes further in third world countries.
Now, obviously, a lot of that was charitable stuff, if not all of it.
Charity.
All charity.
Yeah.
Do you have any partnership in the stadium for like future profits that it gains?
No.
Do you have? What about like maintenance? It's just like, okay, now that's yours
so
now.
The key with building this stuff is that the community is involved. So it's not just build the structure and then leave. Like that would just end up like a fucking Russian Olympic stadium and be in ruins in 5 years.
Yeah.
So the community has a whole business plan, and all these different charities that I work with, different communities want different things. Like they want playgrounds, they want schools, they want soccer stadiums. So they have to put together a whole plan. So this town in Battambang really put together a plan, and now they're actually not just using it for soccer. Like there's musical concerts, there's a whole little snack shop where it like can pay for the maintenance and stuff like that. So there is a business model, but I don't want to profit. I don't profit from it at all. It's all the charity putting it together, and then the community owns it and takes pride in it.
Okay.
And it's awesome.
So I don't want to go too off because I feel like you and we can just like play zone throughout all of our conversation, which are together.
Forever.
So let's bring it back. So number 1, cut your losses, right? So let's say my dad and everyone who represents that type of avatar of my dad watches this.
Every single person should cut their losses quickly. Never double up or triple up or quadruple up just for ego.
So tell me what that means. Like, give me an example of like what a loss would be and what it looks like and when to cut it.
So yesterday I alerted this stock. What was the ticker? I can't even remember the ticker now. I blocked it out because it didn't work out. I can't even believe this.
Let's call it.
No, this pisses me off.
You want to know the ticker exactly?
Anyways, the Apple theoretically invested in it. There was a whole TechCrunch article that said Apple invested in this company.
Okay.
I don't even have it on my watch list right now. I took it off because it's done. It's dead to me. There was a TechCrunch article that said Apple invested in this company. As it turned out, the TechCrunch article was wrong. The CEO came on saying, no, Apple did not invest. So I put out an alert to buy it. Then I was like, the CFO just said, specifically to Bloomberg, Apple did not invest. Do you know how embarrassing that is to put out an alert saying Apple invested in this, here's the article, and then same day you have to put out an alert saying, no, they didn't.
Right.
I took the loss, it's fine. I took the mistake, because the news has changed. The main reason why I'm invested in this company doesn't exist anymore. So I can't be in it anymore. I don't care how embarrassing it is. That's reality. And then a lot of people don't cut their losses. A lot of people are like, well, maybe, you know.
Let's see.
Well, but it's confusing because Apple is actually listed in the prospectus. So it's like, it's questionable. Like, why is Apple listed in this? Like, TechCrunch didn't have all their facts wrong. Like, it's specifically
something
listed.
there.
Yeah, there's something there. But I don't risk it. I play it safe. So when something I think happened is in question, I'm done. When in doubt, get out. And that is very useful. And today the stock is down 15%. So yesterday got in and out basically at the same price. No harm, no foul. Today, if I had been stubborn, would have been a 15% loss.
Wow. So what about people that invest in something like Facebook that seems fairly safe, right? It's been climbing up for the last couple of years, just kind of steadily.
Facebook actually dropped 50% for the first year of its IPO. People forget that. There was one catalyst when the stock really spiked to the 30s. Now it's around 180. But it went from roughly 20 to 30 on the back of one earnings report when mobile ads were, breaking out. It was a whole new business that no one ever anticipated. So I look for those catalysts. And the same thing with penny stocks. When there is one big catalyst, like again, with penny stocks, you have one or two main products. So you can say, wait a minute, if this product is really taking off, it can be a huge boom for the company. Facebook actually acted like a penny stock that day when they announced mobile ad revenues, and now the stock has sextupled.
Wow.
So
for people that
look for big catalysts, no
Okay.
matter whether they're penny stock or big cap.
Okay. So how do you find those? Like, what are you paying attention to? Like,
Yeah.
I know he watches Bloomberg,
Yeah.
but is there some other get away
Bloomberg, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, all shit. So that's what everybody watches, and 90% of traders lose. So if you're
Really?
using the same information as everybody else, you have no edge. You need to look for edge, and that is basically what I do. I look for patterns that many people don't really look for. They don't back test. They don't look at history. I'm basically a glorified history teacher. I'm always looking for patterns, what's working, what's working, what's working. So I look for big percent gains. I look for that one big catalyst. If a stock is up 30%, 50%, 100% in one day, that's what I look for. And then I see what is the reasoning for that. Why is it up 100% on the day?
How do you find the reasoning for that?
So I just look at press releases or SEC filings. So
You just go to Google
Yeah.
and type in, like, let's say the name of the company is Go Industries,
Yeah.
right? So you just type in, like, you go, wow, this
Google
went up
News.
30, 50,
Google
100.
News has everything. I use a software called Stocks to Trade. There's OTCmarkets.com if you're looking up penny stock news or filing. Sometimes there's no press release and there's just an SEC filing. So there's two sources of news for stocks. There's the legal filings and the press releases. Sometimes you have the legal filings first just because they have to file the paperwork. And so the press release comes like a few hours or a few days later. I'm looking for that inefficiency. I really like that with penny stocks. It doesn't happen with big companies. Google press release and SEC filing out at the exact same time. They're like massive corporations.
Right,
so
everyone's paying attention to
They're
them.
on their shit, right? So within seconds of any good news, 1,000 analysts have already, looked into it.
Because they got to
and
get
said
the
everything.
shareholders the
Yeah,
information.
they get everything. And CNBC's already talked about it. Breaking news, Google just, did shit, right? And it doesn't matter. With penny stocks, people aren't looking. That's the beautiful thing, because you have several hours, sometimes several days, for people to realize what just happened. There was a ticker VLTC a few years ago. Carl Icahn, who's a gigantic billionaire, very successful in the markets, invested in this little piece of shit penny stock. The stock was trading at 1. When he invested, when the news came out, there was an SEC filing and a little press release, the stock went to 2, right? So it was up 100%.
Double.
That's
Yep.
pretty good. I bought it because I thought that would have more legs. I bought it, I think, at like $2.30, and I sold it the next day at like $2.80, and I'm like, I'm out. I made my 20%. 2 weeks later,
That's
it
right,
goes-
because that's 20%, right?
that's what I go for. I aim for singles too. That's another thing. Don't go for home runs, right?
Right.
This is a home run, this example that I'm bringing up, but if you learn to make 10, 20, 30% again and again and again, it adds up, especially with penny stocks. Too many people see something going well and they're like, well, I'm just going to hold. This is going to be amazing. Then they go down with their ship because they go for home runs and then they strike
So it's
out.
not just cut your losses quickly, it's also cut some of your wins quickly.
I cut all my wins quickly. This is rule number 2. We were just stuck on rule number 1. You don't want to end up being like going for home runs and then striking out and then turning from black to white and looking like Sammy Sosa in a fucking cowboy outfit. Like, it's embarrassing.
Right.
Pull up Sammy Sosa in a cowboy outfit. Did you see that the other day? It was his wife's birthday. It was like her wish
We'll
for them
put
to
that
dress
on
up
the-
like
we'll
cowboy.
put that on the
Sammy
screen.
Sosa in a cowboy outfit here. It's ridiculous. You don't want to end up like that. Trust me. So you don't want to go for home runs. You don't want to take steroids. You want to go for singles. Be like Ichiro. That's what I am. The Ichiro of like the stock market. But VLTC, I bought it at $230 roughly, sold it at $280, made my 20%. 2 weeks later, it's at $20 a share, as all the major media covered Carl Icahn on like day 3, day 4, day 5, day 7 of the actual event, because no one covers penny stocks, so there's a time lag.
So your mom or dad do this? Like, how'd you get started? You said you turned $12,000 of your bar mitzvah money in high school to $2 million. So how did you? Where did it begin?
So it was really my parents who gave me control of my bar mitzvah gift money. They thought I would lose it all. They were assholes. They were like, give the kid the money, he'll lose it all, he'll learn the value of $1. And senior year of high school, I turned the $12,000 into over $100,000. Freshman year of college, I made roughly $700,000. So I screwed up all their plans for failure. I never learned the value of $1.
It's still a good lesson.
No,
they still taught you something.
And now they both work for me. So now it's a family business. So it's kind of
Wow.
messed up. Like over my mom's like birthday dinner, my dad and I are like arguing. He's my COO, and we have like this whole issue with like who's in control of the company. You know, it's weird for your son to like, you know, give you like stuff to do. He's like, I'm not a slave, and I'm like, just fucking do it. Stuff like that. So it's interesting.
Okay, so they gave you control.
Yeah.
Now most kids, you get control of $12,000, and you're getting a lot of shoes. Maybe you're going on vacation. You're doing some cool stuff like that because you're a kid. So how did you say, I'm going to go into penny stocks? What was the thing that got in front of you?
I didn't want to go in penny stocks first. At first, I invested in big companies. I was watching Bloomberg, or I don't think Bloomberg.
So
even
this
had
is
a
what
TV
year?
channel. 1999.
So .com was a big thing.
So the market's going crazy. I had surgery on my arm.
AOL at that time, Yahoo.
AOL, Netscape, Yahoo. So I invested in these big companies, and my account did shit. My 12,000 went to like 11,900, like 12,100. I'm sitting here because I had surgery on my arm. I had Tommy John surgery. I was a tennis player, right? So I had 2 casts. I'm sitting there like looking like fucking RoboCop, watching my stocks go nowhere. I'm already into college early admission for a tennis scholarship.
Life's not looking great.
It's just fucking boring. I'm just like bored out of my fucking mind. Like it was just nothing. So I got into penny stocks.
Did you talk like that just because it's not fitting?
Yes, it was a terrible time. And I got into penny stocks because the stocks are moving so much. So I wanted to grow my account. I didn't know anything. Back then, this is actually funny. I say this to all the Bitcoin people. I spoke at a Bitcoin conference the other day, and I was like, you guys are all fucking broke. You don't even know it. That's how I opened. It was actually funny. But Bitcoin Bitcoin is moving very similarly to the .com boom. So back then, my big strategy for turning 12,000 into roughly $1 million in a year and a half was buying companies that added .com to their name. So Sportsman's Guide, for example, sells camping gear. They came out with a press release saying, we're changing our name to sportsmanguide.com. Stock tripled over 3 days.
Wow.
I didn't hold the whole time. I always take like singles. But I made like 50% on my money. Right now, companies add, oh, we're getting into Bitcoin, we're getting into crypto. The stock triples. Same exact thing. And then, 2000, 2001, 2002 happened, everything crashed. So I don't know if it's going to happen again with Bitcoin, but it's the exact same. You put out one press release, the stock doubles or triples because everyone just wants to be involved.
What were your friends thinking about this? Were your friends into this too, or were they like, dude, what are you doing? Let's just go play soccer.
Yeah, they wanted to go out and hang out, and I was like, fuck all of you. And now
I'm gonna keep trading stocks.
Correct. I missed my college graduation for a trade. I made roughly like 10 grand, paid for nearly a semester, but my parents and grandparents are sitting in the hot sun waiting. I guess they called my name like twice or 3 times, but I just wasn't there. I was in a trade. So you have to make sacrifices. So I understand your dad's addiction, and I worry about him because if I look back, that $10,000 was a lot to me back then. Now it's fucking nothing. And I wish I had gone to my college graduation. So I don't want people getting so addicted that they miss out on life for the market. There's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another boom. There's always going to be something.
I think that's easy to say though when you're at your point because, when I first started in anything, right? Like when I first started building my business, there's things that I missed out on.
Yeah.
That I think like my wife and I literally
EMAN is the ticker that Apple thought
you first thought of it?
It was really pissing me off. Imagine.
Isn't it crazy how that comes out that way? Remember we did that with Hugh Jackman that one time? We couldn't think of the Wolverine name?
No, this was yesterday. I'm like, how can I not know the ticker? Imagine, EMAN. The stock spiked. Now it's down because Apple
put that on the
probably
screen,
did not invest in it.
So I remember when my wife and I, we had our baby, and we were literally hours after my wife had the baby. She had the laptop on her lap, and I was there. I was already on with the laptop like 10 minutes after we cut the cord, and we just worked for 3 days. Now I look back at it and I go, man, all we did was really get maybe a client because of that time. We could have we needed those days back. But at the same time, I think we can say that today because we did stuff like that back then.
It's tough. There's no perfect answer. But I will say that once you make a lot of money and you look back, like money is not going to make you happy. Like, I show off a lot of my money because it inspires people to study harder. But on my deathbed, I'm not like, oh, give me my Ferrari keys. Like I'm going to be thinking about the kids' faces at the soccer stadium or the schools. Like when I go visit these schools, like I'm practically in tears. The families are all hugging me. That's what money should be used for. But charity doesn't really inspire anybody to study harder. It just doesn't. So I show off my Lamborghini. I show off my Ferrari. I mean, one of my newest millionaire students, Stephen Ducks, found me on Instagram because he liked my Lamborghini, and that pushed him to study. So use whatever you can to inspire yourself, but also think about life and think about, what is really going to be meaningful. Poor people don't understand what's meaningful. Like, just give me the money. Right. Like, I just want that freedom. It's like they're going to be in the rat race if they don't study. So if you're poor, if you're broke, if you don't have a lot of money, use whatever you can. But at the same time, also try to think about, if you are going to be successful, what do you think you could do to probably live a little better?
So you never had a job?
No, I taught tennis.
You taught tennis? Okay.
Summer lessons.
So outside of that?
Yeah.
You never had a job?
I totaled my car, so I had to pay for it with tennis lessons. But no.
Now, outside of your parents, do you have employees?
Yeah.
How many employees you have?
44 employees now.
44 employees. Yeah. Where are they based out of, or is it virtual?
All over the place. Literally, we have like 6 offices, but it's just growing because...
Is it the school that they're helping manage?
Yeah, I mean, it's my online academy that basically everyone's partaking in because it's real. Like, most people in the stock market, most gurus who say, oh, I'll make you a millionaire, they're just full of shit. Like, they've never done it themselves. I show my audits. I show my income tax returns online. Like, people are like, holy shit, this is real. Yeah. When you said, like, can you name names with your millionaire students? Like, yeah, and they'll come on. Like, they're real people. So there's so much fake bullshit on the internet. It's kind of like the Wild West right now. Like, there will be a sheriff in town, but right now it's like the 1880s, and it's just like craziness. So as more people find out that I'm real, it's getting kind of crazy. And again, like, I admit my mistakes. Like, if I lose, I write a whole blog post, like 10 lessons from my biggest loss. And that's actually like some of my top lessons. So I can do no wrong. I don't mind admitting mistakes. If I manage them well, that's cool. If I don't, I talk about what I did wrong.
When you hear people talking about stocks, what's like, I think anybody that knows anything, like I know digital marketing, right? Yeah. And there's things that piss me off when people start talking about stuff. And NFL, like people that love the NFL and football, like they get annoyed when they hear people talk about certain things in NFL because they know they don't know what they're talking about. What pisses you off the most when you hear somebody talking about stocks and you're like, just stop giving people that advice. You're don't even know what you're talking about.
I mean, the Bitcoin fanatics who say this time is different, but although they've been trained because they've just believed in it so much, so they've been rewarded. You have to remember that things go in cycles. And again, it's all about studying history. Some of the top performing stocks in the 1960s and 1970s are totally dead right now. Like, let me ask you this. What is something that's almost in every small town in America? This was one of the hottest stocks several decades ago, and now you would never think of it. What is one unit of like American culture that still exists today?
Church, post office.
Bowling alleys.
Bowling.
Think about that. True. AMF fucking bowling was one of the top performing stocks a few decades ago. Everyone needed to go bowling.
Right.
Now you go to these bowling things, they smell weird. It's like terrible places. But that was one of the hottest sectors. Also, washing machines, Maytag, right? Everyone needed a washing machine and refrigerator. They had 2 hot products several decades ago. Now it's useless. So you have to think in terms of history. Whatever is hot today probably will be irrelevant in a few decades. So ride the hype, ride the momentum, but also keep things in perspective. And it's tough if you don't study history. This is why I'm a glorified history teacher.
Wow, very cool. All right, so for everybody that's
you go bowling? Is there a bowling alley here?
Yeah, I just went bowling.
It's fun, like every now and then.
We went Cosmo bowling, which is really cool.
I mean, you can drunken bowl, like they have like disco nights, they have like karaoke, like they've tried to make it cool.
It's like one of those things where it's almost funny to suck at it.
It's funny. It's not like serious, but like several decades ago, like that was serious. Like bowling was the Bitcoin of, I don't even know if it was the 60s or the 70s, but it was like the hottest thing. Like, oh, where are you gonna go Friday night? The bowling alley. Now, like, you go to the bowling alley, like, what is it? Like your cousin's
like you couldn't think of anything else?
Party, like, oh yeah, let's do drunken
That's
karaoke.
That's like the plan D.
Like, it's
let's just go bowling.
It's a joke. And I wouldn't be surprised a few decades from now, like, to look back at Bitcoin and like, it could be trading at like 1/1 billionth of a penny. And people are like, oh yeah, you're going to pay for that with Bitcoin? I can see that.
Here's what I don't understand, and maybe you can teach me, because I was going to wrap up, but I feel like I got one more question on this. So with Bitcoin, I'm wanting to understand how this whole thing works. So let's say you buy Bitcoin for $1,000 when it was $1,000, right? And now it's, let's say it goes up to $20,000, and now it's $20,000. But you still have just one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And but like, does it matter that it's 20,000 versus 1,000 at the end of the day? Because you can still get like a percentage of a Bitcoin. Like at the end, like I guess what I'm confused at is, if money becomes irrelevant because of Bitcoin, what does it matter?
So there's two things. Bitcoin wants to be money. Like everyone, like if Bitcoin people were happy, they would pay for everything.
But aren't people having a hard time accepting Bitcoin
Correct.
because it's so volatile?
There's not. Well, it's not because it's so volatile. It's because it's so sketchy. Like if you look at all the sketchiest people in the world, like drug dealers, you know, arms dealers, they loving Bitcoin because it's not taxed, it's not with any government.
Right.
Like they love it and they're trying to embrace it. But legitimate businesses, I think there's only like 4 out of the Fortune 500 companies that accept Bitcoin. And also like Coinbase, like my business partner has turned, I think like 5,000 into like nearly 100,000 in Bitcoin. And he can't even sell. Like Coinbase only allows you to sell 20,000 at one time. And then it's like question, like, do you pay taxes? Like it's just sketchy stuff. So the value of Bitcoin has gone up. It's been a good investment if you speculated on it. But people using it in everyday society has not changed. There's still just, I think in the past 4 years, I think the same 4 companies like Starbucks, Amazon accept it. Like it's actually good if you go to Starbucks, like you can arbitrage, you can get $1,000 gift card, I think, to Starbucks and pay roughly $750 worth for Bitcoin. So you save $250 if you convert it, because Starbucks wants to, you know, enable like Bitcoin people because they're like trendy or whatever. So it's like a little deal. But in the grand scheme of things, not many businesses are using Bitcoin and it's still very questionable. But that said, the investment has paid off. I would just be very careful with anything that goes up 100 times or 1,000 times or 2,000 times.
Many times.
Correct, because it's most likely going to drop. Like there's economies of scale here. Like it's very easy. It's not very easy, but it's easier to go from 100 to 10,000. But to go from 10,000 to 1,000,000 is much tougher. And the same thing with penny stocks. Like I've made several $1 million. I can never make $1 billion. People ask me, why do you even teach in the first place if you know so much? Because I was on this reality show, Wall Street Warriors, which was a hit. And everyone started asking me, how do I do this? And I was tired of all the bullshit information out there. Secondly, I can't make that much. So my top students turn a few thousand into a few million. I make like $2,000 on average per trade, but it's not scalable. So you really have to understand scale. And Bitcoin, for now, I think has done a lot in a very little period of time.
So for people that want to learn from you, and they didn't know who you were, they know who you are now.
Yeah.
Obviously interested in you. They're right at this part of the episode.
Well, I'm very introverted, so I don't know if people really know who I am.
They don't know. They know you, but they don't know you.
They don't know me.
What Seth Rogen said once about James Franco. He goes, "I've known James Franco for 15 years, and I still don't think I've met him."
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I want to teach. I want to be as open as possible, but I also have like this alter ego, like on social media or like on TV. Like I become bubblier because I want people to study. Like before if I'm just my normal self, like we're talking off camera, like I'll be more calm, but that doesn't get people studying. The biggest problem I have is that people don't study. Very similarly, 80% of people with a gym membership don't go to the gym. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
80% of my students have access to my video lessons. They don't watch them. I have 5,000 video lessons. It sounds intimidating. They're only 5 minutes each. Okay, so it's roughly 450 hours of videos. Which is a lot, but at the same time,
it's an hour a day for a year and a couple months.
It's doable. It's doable.
The only thing is, by the time you get there, you get another 1,000 videos.
That's fine.
It's maybe 2 hours.
That's the market, And I understand that it's a lot to ask people to study, but if you want success, like that's what it takes. Like people just think, oh, you're just going to get success. I just want hot picks. Like, no, you have to learn. You have to be self-sufficient. That's the best thing.
You have to learn how to be able to find your own hot picks.
100%.
And identify that.
Like today, I've been flying, so I didn't make a trade, and I'm going through my tweets, and I have like 20 students who trade all the same stock, and then there's one guy who's not a student. He's like, how does everybody know to trade that stock? Like, you didn't alert it because it's the pattern.
They're
self-sufficient, and that's what I love.
So for people that want to now really study you a little bit more, where's the best place from the start? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Is it your website?
Just type in the word Timothy Sykes.
Timothy Sykes.
TimothySykes.com has 8,000 blog posts, all free. YouTube, I have 1,000 video lessons, all free. If you want one basic comprehensive thing, go to howtomakemillions.com. That's my charity guide. 35 hours. Everything I know, now raised $3.5 million for charity. So those are the 3 places.
You've done incredible stuff at a very young age,
too. Starting.
Man, so for all of you guys that tuned in today, watching, listening, we've just spent some good amount of time here with the GOAT, Mr. Tim Sykes. Thank you so much for coming on the show. For everyone watching, listening, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts might be. And if you really like this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.